Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. A call for CARICOM-wide regulations on airline service delivery. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 24th August 2023. Details after this important message.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Regional political analyst Peter Wickham wants CARICOM governments to insist on mandatory service standards for all airlines operating in the region. His comments follow a fresh wave of debate about regional travel, triggered by recent comments from St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Dr. Gonsalves told a radio station in SVG that Inter-Caribbean Airways service is absolutely terrible, and that he is awaiting documents related to a new LIAT. ABS's Garfield Burford reports.
The challenges associated with regional transportation have caused increasing angst for travelers. The Turks and Caicos-based Inter-Caribbean Airways has faced the brunt of blistering criticisms in recent weeks. One of those striding the carrier is St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who says the carrier's service is, quote, absolutely terrible, end quote. Regional political analyst Peter Wickham believes the comments from Dr. Gonsalves could represent a tipping point in the support for LIAT.
My hope is that this is what happens, that it demonstrates to the other individual leaders that there's something serious that needs to be considered, and it gives some kind of energy and fuel to the whole conversation. So that would be my hope, that this is what tips the scales in favor of a conversation like this.
Wickham says Inter-Caribbean service woes are also affecting Barbadian travelers. He believes it is time for regional governments to insist on carriers adhering to minimum service standards.
My feeling is that CARICOM needs to set a structure in place to deal with the regulation of regional air travel, and they need to do it sooner rather than later. If you look at the European Union, airlines have certain basic standards that they have to achieve. So if they cancel a flight, there's compensation that has to be given. If they delay a flight, there's compensation that has to be given. Inter-Caribbean is operating in an environment where it can do as it likes. And I don't agree with this idea that they should go out of operation and come back. What I think that the regional heads need to do, they need to use their legislative structure. They need to use what little CARICOM structure exists to ensure that replicated across all the 14 territories that they will operate are laws that indicate that any airline, not just Inter-Caribbean, but any airline, whether it be LIAT, CAL, Inter-Caribbean, or anyone, has to adhere to certain regulations.
Here in Antigua and Barbuda, the Gaston Brown administration has secured a deal with Nigeria's largest private carrier, Airpeace, which will take a majority stake in LIAT 2020 Limited. Attorney General Honorable Steadroy Benjamin recently told the opening ceremony of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union that the government is committed to reinvigorating LIAT.
We're going to fight for LIAT. We're going to keep LIAT. We're going to bring back LIAT to make certain that it deals with transportation in the region.
Pioneering Antiguan astronauts Keisha Shahaf and Anastasia Mears continue to bask in their historic journey to the edge of space and the pride they have brought to Antigua and Barbuda. They were joined by tourism officials at a news conference in St. John's on Tuesday to provide more reactions about their literally out-of-this-world experience. ABS's Alicia Humphreys reports.
We had to say when we thought somebody from the Caribbean, or some persons too from the Caribbean, would be going up into space. We probably would be saying 50 years out, 25 years out. So this is a tremendous milestone. Our young women could actually go up into space. And really what brought it home for me, and I think anybody else who would have seen this, is seeing the braids floating. Then I said, yes, they're really in space now.
Shahab spoke about the experience of being at the edge of space.
It's just a liberating feeling. And it was a feeling of no effort. Like I'm just there, like I'm sitting in my body right now. and I can actually feel the pressure coming down on my shoulders and all of that. But being in space with that zero gravity, you still feel your body, but in a light way, in such a liberating, freeing way, and even thoughts, you're not even feeling your thoughts heavy on you either.
The Virgin Galactic space flight took place on August 10, with many across the Caribbean and the globe watching the event. Shav spoke about looking back at the home planet.
At the moment I looked across, and I was like, it just took my breath like that, like the Earth. We're actually seeing the Earth with our own naked eyes, and it's more magnificent to see it with your own eyes than when you're looking at it from a picture.
And she says Earth actually looks alive from that vantage point.
It actually looks living, like if it's pulsating, like if it's breathing, with the atmosphere, the blue atmosphere around it. You can actually see it almost like the clouds. The clouds are moving, but that's like a fire, like a fiery flame. That's just like, wow, like no words can really explain that.
Myers says this live event has brought her dreams closer to being a reality.
It's definitely made me a lot more inspired and a lot more set on my goals. Especially going to space and seeing that this is an opportunity. It seems so far-fetched, but now going back to university, it's like I know for sure that this is what I want to do, and I'm able to do that.
At the close of summer, Myers will return to Scotland, where she will continue her undergraduate studies. Alicia Humphreys, ABS News.
Trinidad and Tobago's Tourism Minister Randall Mitchell is hopeful that the situation with Caribbean Airlines as regards the air bridge and the scores of cancelled flights is resolved in the shortest possible time. More in this TV6 News item with Elizabeth Williams.
Tourism Minister Randall Mitchell told TV6 News, quote, "It is our hope that the issues resulting in the cancellation of flights and the disruption to CAL's schedule are speedily resolved so that travelers' flights are rescheduled with the least inconvenience possible," end quote. This comes on the heels of sick-out action by Caribbean Airlines pilots on Sunday, causing cancelled flights on the domestic, regional, and international routes. And as flights slowly return to the skies, the Division of Tourism in a statement said it remains in active communication with Caribbean Airlines and is eagerly awaiting official communication regarding the anticipated timeline for the resumption of normal flight operations. The division added, quote, "We understand the frustration and challenges these disruptions have caused for travel plans, and we extend our understanding and support to all those affected. The disruptions have impacted domestic and international services, and we are cognizant of the far-reaching implications on our community. In the face of these unforeseen circumstances, we commend the dedicated and hard-working staff of both the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago and the Airport Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Their unwavering commitment to service and their exceptional understanding of the circumstances have been integral in mitigating the effects of this interruption." Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The mismanagement of Caribbean Airlines via the air bridge needs to stop. This from head of the Tobago Business Chamber, Martin George. Mr. George, in a video sent to the media, has described what he termed the holding of a country to ransom by Caribbean Airlines pilots on Sunday as nothing short of a disaster that affects the economy negatively. More with TV6's Elizabeth Williams again.
Head of the Tobago Business Chamber, Martin George, is asking, where is the CEO of Caribbean Airlines?
For years, Caribbean Airlines has been a profligate waster of the monies of Trinidad and Tobago. They have wasted our resources, wasted our time, wasted our efficiency. So therefore, we cannot continue this way if it is that we want to do better. And the government and the management of Caribbean Airlines have to take responsibility for this disaster which occurred.
Mr. George said Caribbean Airlines fails to deliver on a consistent basis, and what occurred on Sunday was nothing short of a crying shame.
So we call upon the government and the management of Caribbean Airlines to do better and make a change. Otherwise, you cannot continue doing the same things and expecting different results if you are doing them wrong or you're doing them ineffectively. It is quite a shameful scenario which occurred yesterday, and we condemn it in the strongest possible way.
George adds, with an increased airfare, Caribbean Airlines continues to show great inefficiencies.
They've increased the airfare, right? It's gone from $300 to $400, and yet there's no increase in the efficiency. There's no increase in the effectiveness. In fact, it seems to have gotten worse.
He said, Kyle can't get a simple 15 minutes flight between Trinidad and Tobago right.
We have seen for far too long these forays and flights of fancy by Caribbean Airlines, such as indicating they want to partner with Emirates Airlines, when in fact Emirates Airlines is light years ahead of Caribbean Airlines. Emirates Airlines is probably one of the world's leading airlines. So you cannot be thinking of these things when you cannot even get a basic 15-minute flight between Trinidad and Tobago correct.
Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News.
The Bank of Jamaica assures public that financial system remains stable. TVJ's Javon Keys reports in Business Day.
The central bank also says its inflation outlook has remained firm. Management changes at the NCB Financial Group sparked questions from some stakeholders about the entity and whether there are to be concerns about the overall financial system. Opposition leader in Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Prasad Biseso, was among those with questions. Central Bank Governor Richard Biles sought to address the concerns.
These commentaries have questioned developments at certain institutions and their implications for financial stability. Let me remind the public that the overall financial system in Jamaica remains stable, safe, solid, and well capitalized with lots of liquidity. The public, both here in Jamaica and abroad, should feel reassured that the Bank of Jamaica continues to provide proactive oversight of the financial system.
Looking at inflation, the central bank has maintained its outlook with a return to the target range by the last quarter of this year.
The bank continues to anticipate that higher agricultural prices, higher education costs, and wage pressures will contribute to inflation remaining a little above the target range for the next 2 months. Notwithstanding this uptick, inflation is forecasted to generally decelerate to the bank's target range of 4 to 6% by the December 2023 quarter, and to remain there for the rest of 2024, except for a few months.
There are, however, some risks.
Higher than projected future wage adjustments in the context of the tight labor market, second-round effects from the agricultural price inflation, a worsening in supply chain conditions, and an unexpected rise in world prices could put upward pressure on inflation. Lower than projected inflation could be caused by weaker than expected global growth, which could negatively impact tourist arrivals and therefore reduce domestic demand.
The governor of the Bank of Jamaica, meantime, also provided an update concerning the bank's policy interest rates. More in this CVM Live's report with Kimberly Henry.
The Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, as a reward for the successful control of core inflation, has decided to hold the policy interest rate at 7%.
And to maintain tight Jamaica dollar liquidity in the money market, as well as to continue fostering relative stability in the foreign exchange market.
The policy interest rate is the interest rate that is paid on balances in the current accounts of deposit-taking institutions at the Bank of Jamaica. Governor Biles outlines the MPC's observations of the impacts of previous monetary policy decisions.
Interest rates on domestic money and capital markets and the term rates offered on deposits by deposit-taking institutions have generally increased in line with the policy rate. growth in the monetary aggregates has been consistent with the bank's actions. Also notable, local currency deposits grew by 14.4% at May 2023, which was faster than the 10.8% growth at April 2023.
He added there is also a relative stability to the exchange rate due to the bank's maintenance of tight liquidity in the system by offering securities to the market at attractive rates. I'm Kimberly Henry for CVM Live.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.